Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Now you are.
It's fun for me to do this every day. But you are my blessed and wondrous spiritual family and community. And I just am so happy that you're here. It means so much to me. Kind of one of the big highlights of my week. And I know that for each of you, that there is something here that called you here this morning. And whether it's in the message or the treatment or the music, I know that whatever it is that brought you here today, that you will feel it, find it, and just be gladdened that you came. So for right now, just sit back and relax, and we'll have an opening treatment. And this morning, the person doing the treatment is Gail Rhodes.
Good morning. So yes, in that spirit of what Candice said, that we are all here for one reason. We were all brought here for one reason, and that reason is God. So as we relax, maybe take a deep breath, just become very present, very aware that it is not by accident that this community comes together. We come together to recognize who we are and to be supported by all of this community in our growth, in our health, in our compassion, and in our wisdom. Knowing that the answers to every question we have, to every situation we're in, is already there. And as we recognize that we are one with the divine, and that the divine is always conspiring for our goodness, when we just relax and acknowledge that and invite it in, all of the answers become clear. They become easy, and they are full of grace. Everything in our lives respond to that. So that's what we're doing here this morning. We are recognizing and unifying and becoming one with each other, with the universe, and our highest selves reveal themselves, and everything shifts. So as we move forward on this day, as we move forward on this glorious week, and as we enjoy this beautiful sunshine today, knowing that the wondrous rain is also on its way, we just take this time to know that life is good, that we are grateful that life is good, and that we are so grateful that God is good. So we open ourselves, we open our minds to hear the message that was created just for us. And for that, we are grateful. I release this treatment knowing it is true for each and every individual here, and knowing that it is true for each and every individual on this planet. I release it with great thanksgiving, knowing it already is so, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Gail.
You are welcome.
Great way to start the service. Thank you so much. Okay, and so now we're going to have our opening song, which will be presented by Calvin Johnson.
Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love, in sweet surrender, in sweet surrender. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love. All that I am, I offer at the altar of love, in sweet surrender, in sweet surrender.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Calvin. That was a song I truly love, and both of them. So thank you so much. So this morning, I want to start with a quote that I actually shared with you last week, which is it's something that David Bruner had posted on his Facebook page. And the quote is, "You can't be curious when you are furious." And so that word curious and what we talked about last week, that was really sticking with me. And I was understanding it. And lo and behold, I guess the universe wasn't done with me learning more about curious and curiosity. So this week I came across a talk, and I listened to a lot of talks, keeping as much of my positive energy going as I can. And this particular talk was by Reverend Dr. Pat Campbell. And Pat is the senior minister at CSL in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And her topic was curiosity killed the fill in the blank. So I'm going to hazard a guess here that most of you have heard as a phrase that starts with curiosity killed the, and the next word, and probably what popped up into your head, was cat. So curiosity killed the cat. So I think that this is a really interesting phrase because it implies that being curious is bad. In fact, it can be dangerous. You can die from it. So therefore, we need to, if we follow that idea of curiosity killing the cat, we need to keep our curiosity in check. I'm starting to wonder if curiosity is not perhaps a God-given gift. Because without our curiosity, we would be completely stuck. And depending on how stuck you want to look at it, I mean, we could be stuck and still be cave people. Because if we weren't curious and didn't try other things, that's where we would still be, or in the dark ages, or even yesterday. It's like nobody really, I mean, we talked about, or I talked a lot with people over the week about Groundhog Day. And we all know well, hopefully you all know. If you haven't, go get Groundhog Day, the Bill Murray movie, and watch it. But we don't want to be repeating a day over and over and over. I know I really don't want to go back and keep doing even what I did yesterday, but much less, what I was doing 5 years, 10 years. I want to move on. I want to know more. I want to experience more. So instead of seeing curiosity as this negative thing, instead, it seems that spirit, first cause, God, whatever you choose to call it, has built into our psyche, even maybe into our DNA, a need to know more. And this need to know leads us to new discoveries in music and science, and even in our own spirituality. many of us didn't start our lives spiritually where we are now. So that's important, and to be curious and to keep asking questions is a big deal. So Albert Einstein said, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One cannot help but be in awe when he or she contemplates the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the miraculous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery each day. I love that idea. Just a little each day to go and comprehend the mystery and question why we exist and what's going on. And so that's part of what we're going to do today. We're going to look at that contemplation and how that can look for us right now. As spiritual beings having a human experience, we are designed to be curious, to want to know more. So I actually looked up the word curious just to see what the dictionary said. And it had a bunch of synonyms that I'm just going to read you the short list. And so some of the synonyms for curious are inquisitive, inquiring, snooping, interested, questioning, probing, nosy. Yeah, nosy. So what I noticed right away is some of these are very positive, some not so much, some a little negative. But here's what I also know. I doubt that people like Einstein, Galileo, Stephen Hawking, add your own favorite great thinkers to that list. I really doubt that any of them were ever accused of being snooping or nosy. But what I also know is that pretty much with everyone on my list, they were often considered a little odd. So that oddity is what led them, I think, to great insight, discovery, creation. So being curious puts us in good company with these brilliant minds, or what I consider brilliant minds, whether we think we are equal to them, one with them or not. We are in that company just because we're curious. But here's another thing that Einstein has to say. He says, I am neither especially clever nor especially gifted. I am very curious. So that leads me back to the topic for today, which is curiosity killed the. And what we might actually be able to insert in that phrase, which would be the job of curiosity. So we all know that right now, we need to look deeply at the things that are scary, frustrating, any kind of disturbance in the force, whether it's global or personal, whether it's differing points of view about climate change or racial inequity or any of the big old list of things that we as a culture, not just a culture, but as a global community, we need to look at. So whether we are looking at something and there's someone else who has a differing opinion on those big things, or if it's more personal, something like a reoccurring argument that you have continually with a loved one or someone at work. But it's time for us to look into the disturbance in our lives and to continually remind ourselves, no matter what that disturbance may look like, that it is all one and that love always prevails. Now, I really need to immerse myself in knowing that. So spending time listening to inspirational talks, doing meditation, praying, that's what I need to be doing. And I want to be doing it more and more and more. It's really how I want to spend the majority of my conscious time. Right after the insurrection happened back on January 6th, there's a minister in New Jersey, Reverend Michelle Wobley, and she decided on January 7th to lead a peace meditation where, and she invited, the whole ministerial community along with her own community to join in. And during that event, she said, staying curious is especially important right now, for genuine curiosity can lead to non-judgment. Genuine curiosity can lead to non-judgment. In other words, if we take the time to be curious and explore why these supposed others have a different opinion or feel the way that they do about what we also find scary, frustrating, we may be able to move away from our judgmental ideas about the supposed them. And it doesn't mean that we will agree or condone any of those ideas, but we may be able to move towards empathy and compassionate understanding. So the first rewrite of the curiosity phrase, and so I'll give Pat credit for this, is curiosity killed the judgment. Curiosity killed the judgment. If we're so stuck in our belief that we are unwilling to begin to explore another person, another point of view that is different from our own, maybe we are just as stagnant, just as stubborn, just as ignorant as we believe they are. So when I find myself in that place of, really thinking negatively about a person or a group of people, the first step in recognizing that I'm there is to ask a simple or make a simple request, particularly if this is a one-on-one conversation, is if you're able to do it. If it's a group, then kind of going out and seeking out a person in that group that you don't agree with might be a little harder, but it's really simple. So let's go back to, just having a reoccurring disagreement with someone, to ask them or request of them to tell me more about what it is that they believe. What is it that you think is happening here? Now, it takes a lot of courage to ask that question, but once you do, there's actually a second step. It isn't just at making a request to tell me more, but then once I have made that request, I need to shut up and listen, only asking for clarification or additional information. In other words, when we get to this place of asking to tell me more about what you believe, and we're going to step into that listening, you need to remember that this is not a discussion or a debate. We're not here to defend our point of view or to change anyone's mind. We are here to do deep listening and perhaps find a level of understanding. But even if that doesn't happen, even if I don't, even after I've heard everything they had to say, I still don't agree. What does happen is that having that information come to me brings growth and expansion to my own self while creating a safe place for the presumed other, for them to be able to express in safety, to know that they're going to be heard. So again, this doesn't mean that you will agree with them, but it gives us the opportunity to learn more. And as we learn more, perhaps a platform where maybe we can find a place to work together, even if it feels incredibly small. I think that that's another thing that we need to look at is uh, what do I need to do, even if it feels small? And this was also David Brenner, but this was kind of not related to this, but it popped up for me. He was talking about he and his partner have a home, I don't know, timeshare, whatever, up in Tahoe. And a couple of weeks ago, they decided just to go up. And overnight, there was a huge snow. And he actually sent out a video of him standing on their deck. It was completely filled, so like probably 4 feet deep snow. And he was making the analogy that he wanted the deck to be clear, but he didn't have the means to just have it instantly disappear. And what he was going to have to do was a shovel at a time, but that eventually it would be clear. And so I think about that with these kind of conversations is that sometimes it's like, well, I don't really know that this is making any difference, but just that willingness to communicate is that first shovel. So to go ahead and find that place where we can communicate, find that place where we might just be able to start to work together. That's so important. So that leads me to the second modification of the phrase. And the phrase now is curiosity killed the ignorance. Now, ignorance is, of course, not just unto itself a bad thing, but what ignorance means is it's a lack of knowledge or information. That's what it is. So, so for instance, and I was kind of thinking about this just at the very beginning of the service, when we come into a teaching like the science of mind, we often enter the teaching ignorant of how powerful our thoughts are. And we, in our ignorance, have been creating all sorts of things, some of them really wonderful, and some of them extremely sad. Once we're here, once we're in a teaching like this for a while, we can come to that realization of a greater truth. And we can then understand that our true, deeper wisdom can be what takes over in our lives. For a while, it feels like little tiny shovels. But as most of us that have been practicing for a while, we can have some amazing, what appears to be miraculous changes in our life just by being willing to step outside and to learn more, to bring more information, knowledge to ourselves. So I have a quote from Walt Disney, and he said, keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. So I love that idea because curiosity done in a respectful manner can teach us and lead us to all kinds of new places. So I have an example. I have a friend who I've always thought of as virtually fearless. Like she will step into pretty much any situation where I sometimes like, don't go there, don't go there, but she will. And I was once, I'm going to tell you about a specific thing, but I've seen her do things like this many, many times. It works for her. And so I was with her this one time and she noticed that there was a person, and the person, we were in an airport, and the person was on a phone call and was speaking a different language. And as other people in that general area were hearing and looking at her, you could see that there was a lot of suspicion and discomfort, and people kind of wondering about her. And I'm not even going to try to go into what they saw, but it was obvious that there was a lot of tension was building because this one was on the phone speaking a different language. My friend, second this, it was also a woman, the second she hung up the phone, my friend walked up to her, and who a lot of the people in the room were seeing this person as perhaps dangerous. And my friend just walks up to this maybe dangerous person and asks her, would you be willing to settle a disagreement for us, indicating me, and I don't think we're having a disagreement. And the woman sort of said, all right. And my friend said, I think you're speaking Russian, but my friend, that would be me, thinks that you're speaking a Slavic language. Are either of us correct? And the amazing thing was that not only did the woman answer, and by the way, she was Ukrainian, she was willing to share, because that opened a discussion. She was totally willing to share lots of things, happily given where she was from, what she loved about her culture, and she just kept talking. And, we were still just all of us kind of waiting for a plane, where she's from, all of these things. But what I noticed almost immediately, as soon as they were in discussion, everybody relaxed. Everybody. And that's what I love, is when we're willing to step in, ask a question, tell me more about you, about what you believe, about your circumstances. That brings people together in a respectful and kind way. So that is a really, really great way to eliminate our ignorance, to start to actually know people. So that's the second modification. And that brings me to the third modification of the curiosity killed the phrase. And this time it's curiosity killed the separation. I have heard that the greatest disturbance that many religions have done to humankind is to perpetuate the idea that we are separate from God, that God is this being in the heavens that is judgmental, fill in the blank. But because of that kind of thinking, a lot of us were taught at some point, even in this lifetime, that we were separate from God. But the other thing that religion has also been known to teach is that we are separate from each other. That if you don't believe like me, then we have nothing. We have nothing. We have nothing in common. You're not like me. But that goes in a lot of other directions too, that rich and poor, different ethnic or racial differences, then suddenly we're separate. We are no longer one. And this myth was cultivated by the powers that be at different times in our history in order to control the masses. So whether it was only a chosen few can talk to God, or you don't look like me, worship like me, speak like me, it's time to set that myth straight. Science has proven over and over that from the smallest insect, in fact, the smallest subatomic particle to the entire universe, all the planets, everything, the largest galaxies, all of it, you, me, everything. We are all made from the same stuff, the same energy, same creative substance. Dr. Holmes in the textbook says everything is of one ultimate substance. All substance is as indestructible as God, for it is all God. God's center is everywhere and circumference is nowhere. So when I look at that, I recognize that if I can take that into my heart, into my mind more deeply, more completely, and be curious about what I find as I delve down there, that it is the beginning of the end of the sense of separation. So I just want to add that I think it's so important for us all to look for and celebrate our differences, what makes us unique, while also knowing that we are all one. We are all the same stuff. Eleanor Roosevelt said, life must be lived as curiosity kept it alive. So I just love that idea. What is it that we're curious about today that can lift us and move us? So living from our own curiosity to be able to learn, to grow, to understand, eliminates ignorance, separation. So it's time for us to just embrace that and to move into today and every day being willing to look deeply, to listen deeply, to ask the questions and allow ourselves to grow. All of that comes from our curiosity. So take a deep breath. We're going to be entering into our treatment. And today's treatment is a modified version of a prayer for curiosity by Reverend Peter Englert, who is a Christian minister. And one of the things that I saw Reverend Pat do, which I really like, so I'm going to invite you to do this, is before we begin the prayer, I want you to take your hands, and we've done this a couple of times. This is a thing that goes back to you, Camp. Take your hands, put them together, think your most loving thoughts, rub, 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 rub. And then when you're ready, I want you to send love to this entire group. So ready and go. And as we feel that love just entering into us, knowing that there is no limitation, there is no separation, there is just us being aware and loving each other. We move into the recognition of these words. Today, I confess my rigidity. Today, we confess our rigidity. That rigidity, it requires work. It requires the work to ask questions. It requires the effort to see a point of view other than from another, not our own. It requires humility to challenge our assumptions. It requires waiting to hear from God. Because honestly, we lack the resources to change it on our own. So today I pray for curiosity. Let it open our minds and hearts. Let it release us from this cynicism that pervades our perspective. Let it move us from obstinance to pliability. ultimately, let us see what God sees. May this become true as much for others as for ourselves. What motivates our curiosity is knowing that God is making all things new. Today, let us be curious. Let us be reminded of the power that dwells within. Let that realization move us from being static to dynamic. Let our curiosity see God in ways we have never seen it before, within ourselves, within the perceived other. Let it all just be one whole God. So I give thanks for our curiosity and for our ability to move forward. And I let it be so, and so it is. Take a deep breath. So now is time for our collection. And again, I want to remind you that there are a couple of ways to give. One of them is through PayPal, which is PayPal button on our website. Another one is electronic transfer, which you can set up your own bank account to transfer money to the center. And the last one is to write a check. But what I know is when we make those decisions, that what we're actually making a decision about is supporting our shared values and recognizing, visualizing us together again, and remembering why we're here and what it is that we're about. So I'm also going to do my best to put up, there it is, the offering affirmation. So please read this along with me, because for some, I really get it that when we read this together, we are all lending our support to these ideas. So please say with me now, divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and the vision we share. So it is. So I have just a couple of announcements. As you know, well, actually, the only real thing that we have going outside of our Sunday services right now, well, we have one thing, which we are still trying to support building bridges. And Teresa has offered to be a collection site. And so this is for goods that are going to the shelter. So toilet paper, paper towels, disinfectant wipes, bleach, trash bags, tarps, used sleeping bags, anything like that, that you can drop those off at Teresa's. You can also drop this off at Trudy Morgan, who lives at 408 West Mill Street. And she said, I guess you could just drop it on a porch with Teresa. If you call, let her know you're coming. That would be good, but you can drop it off there. Or you could take any donations that you have directly to the center, the building bridges, the shelter. And you can just call in, and there's, during the day, there's workers there, and they'll come out and unload your stuff, and off they'll go. So it's pretty simple, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to be helping others. So that's really it. That's our one and only announcement, unless somebody has a burning question. I don't see anybody, so okay. All right, so Calvin, a closing song, please.
Thank you so much.
this song that I'm about to do is called We Are the Divine. It's my answer to Let Every Voice and Sing. Lift Every Voice and Sing. The sort of Black national anthem because of Black History Month. That's an impossible song to sing, so I wrote another one. It's called We Are the Divine. Stand with me and listen as Spirit calls. I can see you here in the light. We have come so far on our homeward path. With kindness and love, let us continue on. For we are born to live in freedom, born to live in love, and we can be the ones who make the whole world new. No one can ever separate us. We'll leave no one behind. We are who we are, the sparks who are all divine. Yes, we can know and love each other from goodness deep inside. We can live the oneness now in our hearts, in oneness with all of creation. We move and bend and breathe. We are the divine, so let us be who we are.
Beautiful. That was wonderful, Calvin. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing it. And thank you. So again, thank all of you for being here today. You've definitely helped me start off my day in a really positive way. And know that I love you, and I will see you next week. So namaste.